Alright, you're going to want to get a freezing pot because we're going to be reading some hot NIGHTREIGN takes today. I personally think every game has a community that will always have some hot takes that will take over the entire fan base for a solid week or two and get people arguing about it. And of course, there's nothing bad about having different opinions about a game that you're passionate about. It gets people talking, brings fans together to add their own input to the game, and who knows, the developers might even find that helpful and change something in the actual game. Now, Soulsborne games, however, are a different breed when it comes to hot takes. And of course, it's the usual, you need to play it a certain way or Souls-like should have the difficulty setting. But it absolutely, without a doubt, causes a mass uproar in the Souls community. And it makes sense. In a game centered around overcoming difficulty, these hot takes are going to get the veteran fans riled up. With the massive success of Elden Ring, the influx of millions of new Souls players clash with the older fans and sometimes disagree with some aspects of the game. And of course, Elden Ring NIGHTREIGN couldn't escape the hot takes discussion as people were already giving it a hard time since the release announcement all the way back 8 months ago. People were calling it a cash grab, a disgrace to the Elden Ring name, and all the other stuff in the book. I think a good majority of Souls fans were happy with the announcement though, since it was something new to look forward to and the callback to older game bosses seemed to be really cool. About a week or two ago, I got my first-hand look at the enhanced Augur fight and I tweeted this, and I got a lot of fire at me because most of the players didn't find the new boss very fun. I still think the boss is pretty cool, it just loses the magic after the first few runs. But people were so upset by my comment that it even became a meme, which I thought was pretty funny. So I decided to tweet this and see what the players of NIGHTREIGN, new and veterans, had to say about the game and give my 2 cents about it as a fellow player. Starting off, I wanted to get this hot take out of the way first because it's the most spam one I've seen, and in my opinion, the most controversial take regarding NIGHTREIGN. I think anytime FromSoft releases a new game, there's a small percentage of fans that dislike it, and I think it's due to the new mechanics that they add. For example, Dark Souls 2 featured a lot of new things that people found too experimental and was judged harshly for it. And while more people think back on it fondly today, it's still known as that one game in the Souls trilogy that everyone looks at weirdly. But NIGHTREIGN has been really fun for me thankfully, and I do like the fast-paced gameplay. On the other hand, I do understand why people don't like it as well. A 40-minute game where you can't take a single break isn't something everyone can do, and the fact that you can only rely on RNG to make a build doesn't fit with everyone either. These are all valid reasons why people may not like NIGHTREIGN, even if they're a huge FromSoft fan, but I still like that they made something new for people to try out. If you're not going to stay with the other 2 players, you should just play solo. I don't want to tell you guys how to play the games, but I also thought that maybe splitting up to get more ground or maximize rune acquisition would be a viable strategy in the game. But after playing for many hours, I think the best way to play is to just stick together. You'll defeat enemies and bosses quicker, and you can help each other out in the pinch if someone goes down. I've had games before playing with randoms where one of us wants to go one way while the other wants to go the other way, and without voice chat, we can't really coordinate. I just usually follow whoever pings something first unless I have an every joke key that I want to use. But either way, you should stick with your teammates to have the best time. The reviving system is abysmal. It should take 1 melee a bar period. Always have it be 3 hits from the death. Bow makes it 6 shots always. We already have to hit more in endgame anyway. This one hits a bit hard. I think 1 melee a bar makes every near death too trivial for the challenge. Assuming even a fist attack counts as 1 bar, you can revive a 3-bar teammate in less than 2 seconds, so that will make dying not a serious threat in the game. When you and your teammate initiate a boss fight, let's say the middle castle's top boss for example, you're committing to a fight that will take a long time, and if you do go down and respawn because your teammates couldn't revive you in time, that wastes a lot of time in the run, which is very crucial for the endgame. And yes, trying to revive your teammates that has 3 bars is hard and almost impossible in certain boss fights, but doing so adds a sense of fear that I think players need. It shouldn't have Elden Ring in the title, kinda like how you typed it, because it's got nothing to do with Elden Ring. But I think the reason why Elden Ring was the main title for NIGHTREIGN was primarily because FromSoft wanted the latest game's graphics and style, and Elden Ring was also fresh on everyone's mind. Every enemy in the game so far is from Elden Ring, save for some exceptions from the Dark Souls trilogy for night bosses, and even the story is tied to Elden Ring in some way, though it does have something to do with Elden Ring, maybe just more loosely than you think. Executor is the only character that needs a buff. Executor is one of my top play characters, and I think he's in a pretty good place right now along with all the Nightfarers. And although I would love to make him move a bit faster while using his Cursed Blade, buffing any Nightfarer is a slippery slope in which it could unbalance the game, so I would tread very carefully before asking for any Nightfarer changes, at least for now while the game is still in the fresh state. The castle being the only big structure or major point of interest outside of shifting earths make the map feel even more lackluster, especially when it stays there for a quarter of the time. Replacing it with a new structure or having more than one major point of interest would be nice to see in the DLC. I think we're at the point in the game where players are desperately wanting something new, and I think more RNG is actually a good thing, so I do agree with this take. I saw a post on TikTok showing fan-based concepts of new maps with different settings such as Caelid, Lanedale, or Noctella, and it looks really cool to explore and see what kind of different changes it can have. People who leave games immediately after dying should be banned for at least a week. I don't think I've actually gotten penalized for leaving a game early. The game does warn you if you're trying to exit a game mid-match about getting penalized, but I haven't gotten anything like that, so maybe it's enforced if you do it too much consecutively. But yeah, having teammates leave in the game really does suck, and there should be some kind of way to persuade players not to do it. But I do have a soft spot for Night Rain because sometimes you just have in real life emergencies and you can't stay for the entirety of the 40-minute game, so it's based on circumstances for me. I say maybe if someone leaves in the first 5 minutes, maybe it's a penalty then. For whatever reason, the voice acting feels worse than Elden Ring's. FromSoft never misses with the voice acting cast in their games, and I do like the voices in Night Rain, but the funny thing is that they're really quiet in this game for some reason. Even using the shouting ashes of war are like lowercase screams, so I don't know if that's a design choice, but I still like the voice acting. Each day should last 10 to 20% longer in my opinion. I appreciate the devs are going for a fast-paced experience, but current pace just feels frantic and like you have to vigorously optimize to even stand a chance on day 3. Unlike Elden Ring, it feels like there's a correct way to play Night Rain. Games in Night Rain are already pushing 40 minutes, and making them even longer would take each session into 1 hour long runs, and I don't think players are really into that right now. I think that Night Rain's pace is indeed really fast, and it's intended to be that way. Just like Elden Ring, when you begin the game, your playstyle and pace of how you beat the game will be slow, but as you get used to the game's style and you begin to get better at beating bosses and eventually the game. The only difference is that yes, I think there is a certain way to play Night Rain, which is to visit set locations and make sure to beat certain bosses, but the challenge aspect of the game is to be coordinated with your teammate and work together. And yeah, those are all the controversial takes that I picked from the tweet that are worth reading out. There were a lot of replies that were very similar to the ones I did read out, so if you didn't see yours, that's probably why. But most of them were people wanting things to change in the game to make it better, and that is understandable. I personally can't wait for the DLC to come out, especially with all the feedback that the players have been giving out, so the developers will definitely be cooking up something magnificent. And although Dustbloods is still far away from releasing, the release of Night Rain has me very optimistic about it, and can't wait to see what hot takes that game will have when it comes out. But that's it for this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya!